awards and Tonys and buzzes and press is great, but what makes me feel complete in this experience is that every day I leave the theater knowing that, one, I am working towards excellence with other excellent artists, and two, is that what happened in the audience today was a success. We reached people. Why do we do what we do? We do what we do because we don't want to feel lonely, right? If we didn't have plays, if we didn't have films, we would not know that you might have the same experience I have, right? That's kind of really what it is. And so when you do that with 700 people, you feel the furthest thing from lonely. And the sad part, which is I think acting is super sad, especially in the theater, is the play ends and then you're alone on the subway.
Yes. I don't mean to laugh.
No, it's truly sad.
It's truly sad.
And you get home and it's like you just were living.
Yeah.
You just are offering 700 people a shared experience. And now you are having a sandwich by yourself in the kitchen.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Hadi Tabbal is an actor. He sat down with me on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to talk about the work.
As an actor, if I feel that I am there to deliver something that has been created, then I feel useless in the room. I feel I'm just employed to deliver. But if I'm there because I will affect change in a back and forth relationship, then it's riveting. But this is where problems happen for a good reason, because this is where you end up in a space of creativity. And when you have creativity, you're going to bump against people,
friction,
there's going to be friction, but it's as long as there's trust and it's towards the same goal, it will all even out. But that's way more interesting than agreeing on something just, with a hierarchy of I'm here to just do what you're telling me to do, or to deliver the idea you had before you even had me here. That's not interesting. And sometimes I think the mistake that actors and directors do is they make that about ego. And it's not about ego. Right. It's not that I want to be involved because I want to win. It's because I want to be here. Actually, it's the opposite of ego. It's actually a giving. You just have to, I'm learning how to receive that and give that, But once there's trust, once there's a pact, once there's a loyalty in the room, everything will flourish.
And it's up to the director to establish that. You know what I mean? Like the actor, even if it's a high on a call sheet A-lister or something that has produced it and is coming in, it's still not their job to establish that trust, is it? I mean,
100%.
isn't I mean, it feels like that is a dereliction of the director's duty to do something else first.
I mean, it's also the actor's duty to trust too. Like I can, I'm guilty of, I sometimes feel like in life, maybe because I didn't grow up here and I grew up in a different culture, and, I think I approach things sometimes guilty until proven innocent. And it has its benefits, but also there is a responsibility to go, okay, wait, innocent until proven guilty. Let's see what this is about, So you kind of have to always start afresh with you have to start fresh with every director. You can't, some mistakes I've made are expecting director B to have the same sensibilities that I liked in director A. You can't do that. You have to be open. There was one moment in English when the play I'm doing right now. There was a moment in the Atlantic Theater production when we did it off Broadway where I firmly believed that the character should have a certain one or two edgier moments in the play, and I remember Knut, who I have a lot of respect for and is a terrific director, truly inspirational. He looked at me and said, "You are wrong. I am right.
Wow. Just those words.
Just those words. And that was a pivotal moment for me in the room, because I saw there is someone who is so sure of something, but understood what I wanted and is sure that it's not the right direction. And he gained my trust by kind of saying, listen, I know what I'm doing with this thing. Just trust me with that, right? It wasn't, there was no beating around the bush, and I like honesty and just,
Yeah.
And that was a moment where I had to ride on the train that he is putting me on.
Yeah.
And it was the right one.
Interesting. That's so interesting.
And from there on, I trust him blindly now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, you have to, the thing about what we do is a lot of it is about learning people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think people work with the same people often, not just because they like their work, but also because they get them.
Yeah.
It's like you have to learn your director, you have to learn your other actors, you have to learn the writer, you have to learn a lot.
Yeah. And it's so painful to learn somebody and learn that they don't work well with you. So you might as well work with the people that work well with you.
Yes, and so you try things sometimes, and sometimes you work. Look, there are different modes. There are different shapes and forms of this. Sometimes you work really well with someone, but the room is not inspiring.
Yeah.
It's just flat.
Yeah.
It feels like another gig.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is fiery and just so inspiring, but you're butting heads. But the creative process is actually fruitful. Sometimes it's the dream. The creative process is so smooth and it is extremely inspiring. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to do a play. It's hard to make a movie. It's so hard.
Yes.
It's hard to make one. It's hard to make a good one. It's exceptionally hard to make an exceptionally good one.
Yes.
And so everyone is trying to do their best if you're in a good room. That's the interesting stuff.
Yeah.
That's the beef of what we do.
Exactly. And if you like that, then you're going to be okay then, right?
100%. If I once worked with an actor who was, it's also like medium, right? Like it's medium, it's contingent on the medium. Like film actors and TV actors sometimes who don't do theater, and then you work with them in theater. It's really interesting because, I once worked with this actor, and this actor, they knew exactly what they were doing with this play before they started rehearsals. And they discovered nothing during the process.
Yeah.
But they were terrific. But they were film actors or TV actors. You kind of do your work, you come out with TV, we rehearse for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Before the take. And so it was very interesting, whereas the other theater actors had an arc in their human process. And I was fascinated because, I'm not saying that what this person did is wrong.
Yeah.
It's just so different, but did not have room for
But
other
aren't you
people.
sad aren't you sad for them? Do you know what I mean? Like, don't you think that they missed something? I mean, we don't
They
even
did.
Like, it could have been even better than it was. So much better than it was, even if it was really good with what they. You know what I mean? If they opened up to that.
Potentially,
you know what I mean?
Yes. It's funny because you kind of go, wait a moment. That's their process.
Yeah.
It's not a theater process.
Yeah.
Is it wrong? Is it efficient? Is it
Right.
Did it exclude the director? Did it make the director's life easier? I don't know, because the result also matters. And if the result was
Exactly. Then it could have been much worse if they dipped in, right? They could have froze up. They could have paralyzed themselves with some kind of thing outside of their own process.
It's weird, man. We are weird. Artists are strange, right?
Yes.
We engage in these deep, deep relationships around something fictional.
Yeah.
It feels so primordial for us in the moment.
Yeah.
But that is hard to explain to people who don't do what we do.
Yes.
That deep level of care and commitment for something that is so ethereal.
Right.
That is what I live for.
And it has to be that deep to be powerful.
100%.
You know what I mean? So you can't, it's not like other lines of work where you could just get to be good and baseline and a crafts person. Do you know what I mean? This is different. Like you can't, you're not going to reach, people aren't going to be crying in the audience like they were when I was at English. last week. Men. Have you ever heard a man cry like I was hearing them? 2 different men. I know they were men. It was like this weird, like,
catharsis.
yeah, it was like, it's like they were out of control at the end of that play with tears. Like, that's not gonna happen.
You know, it's funny. Yes, you don't get to. So the objective is excellence, right? The objective is to be excellent. What is to be excellent? Is to give the most honest, truthful, and the deepest experience to an audience so they can see themselves. I mean, that's kind of what it is, right? Because if you go see a play and you don't see yourself in it, I don't know what you're doing, right? That's really what it's about. Or a movie, or, you know. And unless we're doing entertainment and you just want to figure out who killed, who done it, you know.
Yeah.
But again, you're also seeing yourself because you're seeing your own curiosity, you're seeing your own, you know. But you can float in somewhere between mediocrity and okayness. But if you want to be, I mean, Knut uses this word, sublime. If you want to be sublime, if you want to be excellent, you have to dig deep, and you have to be not just an artisan, an artist.
Yeah.
You can't just be a skilled person.
Exactly.
You have to be a person who's giving your life experience and your heart on stage,
putting it on
every
the line,
night, in front of 700 people.
Yes.
The renewal of that commitment is something very moving to me as an actor every night.
Do you have a typical way that you like to begin your preparation process? Like when you get a new character, is there a typical first step that you take to kind of wrap your arms around this new person?
It's yes. I think I don't like to come into a script or a process with an idea about what I'm going to do. I think I like the thing to talk back, right? So I'll read the script. If there was an audition involved, obviously I would have done that work. And I will leave it. I will let it kind of, there's some daydreaming that happens subconsciously, knowing that you're going to play that part. You'll read it again. And then I actually try to discover things after hearing my voice saying those words in at least the first read through. Right? I think it's a balance. I don't like to come into a process, let's say we're having the first table read through, and not have any idea what I'm doing. But I like to come in knowing that if this is an image that should be 100% in focus, it's okay if I'm at 30% right now or 40.
Yeah.
Because I want to sharpen it.
Yes.
During what we're doing. Right? Or else why am I there with other people? Right. Because I want to discover things as opposed to decide what they're going to be. Now that differs with media. In the theater, I can be at 30%. If you're doing TV, you can't walk in. You can't go to set with 30% of what you're doing. You have to be more ready, right? But then you have to leave room. I think there are actors who really like to know exactly what they're doing at every moment and make a clear choice and try it. I like to not know. I like to just subconsciously react in a way that is not clear to me and kind of feel good in what I'm doing. If I feel good, I leave it. I don't touch it. I don't. If the director doesn't say anything, if I feel good, I don't talk about it. I don't change it. I don't want to even understand what I'm doing. When I don't feel good is where I dig in. And as you become more experienced, your sense of when you feel good and when you don't feel good, by good I mean truthful, becomes sharper, right? It is frustrating to me as a process to be very conscious about every choice I'm making. I like the fact that there is a whole ocean of unknown instincts to me that
Yeah.
are at play, and I don't even need to question them because
Yeah.
they're working.
Yes. The fogginess, just working in the fogginess.
In the fog that is riveting, right? Because you're
Yeah.
when it's foggy, you drive very carefully,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But so if you're very clear, suddenly it becomes a structured, tight, immovable thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you're always playing with this chaos. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman talks about this chaos and order thing, right? The late Philip Seymour Hoffman. He says, some of the worst work he's done is when there's too much order in it. But if there's too much chaos, you're not doing the material. So you're always, as an actor, want to be living in chaos within order.
Yes.
You want to understand what the scene is. You want to understand what the relationship is. You want to eventually understand what the role of that scene is in the larger play or the film. This is something that a lot of actors do not, especially beginning actors like myself. I wasn't aware of the larger picture. But once you're aware of the tracks, the train tracks, then you can allow yourself to be foggy in that, because that's where the gems come out.
And is it true that the main thing you're worried about in, for instance, like a table read where you're coming in 30%, is that other people panicking that you're only at 30% or some, or having to show that you got it? This is what I'm starting to be worried about. Like, this makes so much sense what you're saying. Patience, like not being afraid of discovery, not having a sure thing, like you're saying. But then with the other people, if they sense this, it's like this panic ensues, right?
Yeah. So I have, two things. This is where trust is very important, right? If there's trust, people know what you're doing.
Yes.
You know what they're doing. People work differently, and you have to honor that. Other actors work differently. Directors work differently. And sometimes you're at 30, sometimes you're at 50, sometimes you're at 70, depending on how you connect to the material, how familiar you are with it, etc. For me, there's no panic, because I think I am invited into this room because someone knows that I have this, right? And so if you're already invited to be part of a process, then the trust is kind of taken for granted. The worst thing is when you enter a room and you're trying to impress people.
Yes.
That's when you're not serving the play.
Yes.
That's when you're like, oh, look at me, I'm such a good actor. I know exactly what I'm doing. I am so much better than everyone else at this read-through. That doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
That's when things start falling apart from the beginning.
Yes.
If you're there with whatever you are right now in the process, if you're in the right room, it will be celebrated.
Yeah.
It will be nurtured. I mean, when we did English at the Atlantic, the character I play is pretty opaque. It's opaque on the page, and it can be very opaque on the stage if you don't really take care of it and discover its deepest kind of workings. It's not an easy role to play, and I'm not saying that to boast or anything, but it's a tough one, and it took me a while to crack. It involved frustrations, it involved a lot of self-doubt, but what I always knew is that I'm going through this pain because I care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't want to do something at face value. I don't want to do something that doesn't speak to me.
Yes.
I don't want to be on stage if I'm not vibrating inside with life.
Yes.
Right? And
you knew it was going to take that work. You knew that it was worth the work,
100%.
worth the suffering.
Worth
was
the
what I'm
suffering,
saying.
right?
Yes.
And it was really painful
Yeah.
in the sense that it's very frustrating when you feel that you're not cracking something, but it's inside of you.
Yeah.
It really screws with your head. And so I remember there was one scene that we did in our maybe designer run through. So we're talking like 2.5 weeks in. And something made sense to me. I remember exactly the moment. It's like the moment I remember exactly where I was when I decided to move to New York. I was on 12th and 6th. And I remember that moment in the room on 45th when I was like, I am in this play right now. I think I understand. And that changed everything. It could be a scene.
Yeah.
It could be something the director says. It could be tech. You
Yeah.
put on a costume. You never know where your in is.
Yeah.
You never. You
Yeah.
have to trust that you'll find it organically.
But did that revelation feed other holes in your understanding of other things? Do you know what I mean? Did that
In the play?
Yeah.
100%.
So interesting.
100%, because I kind of locked into a narrative. Suddenly I understood something happening between me and another character that basically started carrying the play for me. And I relaxed, right? And now I could hear Knut better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then tech was great for me. In tech, I became free for some reason. You have all this time in tech where you sit around and you're being lit and, you know, they're working on sound, just stand, you know. And there is a certain playfulness that started to happen, which this character needed, you know, and Knut picked up on that.
I was going to say, did they pick up on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times though that I'm sure you've had where the struggle continues until the last day. But how
Peter, this play, I will quote Marjan.
Yeah.
She couldn't have said it better. This play is bottomless, right? It's a huge iceberg with just a little bit on top, right? What we say is so packed with life that is filled by us and by the audience. And there's we keep discovering things.
Wow.
I mean, I've done this play 3 times now. I did a short run of it in Brooklyn.
Explain that, yeah.
I'll tell you what I
Yeah.
mean. So Sanaz wrote this piece that functions on so many different layers that are thematic, but they're also deeply rooted in character. So they're up for, I'll tell you 2 things about this. The bottomless part is the following. Every night, I hear new things. I feel new things.
Wow.
I picture new things as I say the same thing. I lock into different thematics of the play. Sometimes the play feels like a play about home to me. Sometimes it feels like a play about language. Sometimes a moment in a scene feels like a play about love and romance. There are so many threads that you can latch onto because they're all there. So Marjan and I, and mostly Marjan and I, because we have a lot of scenes together. There are many moments after a performance or before another performance where we talk and rediscover and rehash something happening between us. It's always alive. It's never 7 p.m., let's execute. Never.
Wow.
It's truly a gift. What Sanaz gave us
Yeah.
and Knut is a gift. The other part of this is, besides the bottomlessness of it, is, and again, we all talk about this is a play that you cannot veer off track with. You can't just go, okay, I know what I'm doing, I'll let it take me. You have to take care of it moment to moment, because if you make choices that don't serve the play, you can easily derail it.
Wow.
So it's so delicate.
Yeah.
It's so delicate. It's incredibly delicate. It's like threading needles. It's like very, very fine-tuned work, right? In very subtle moments. And I'll give you an example. I cannot ever in this play come off as even remotely mean or be an asshole. I can't. If I do that at the beginning of the play, I will lose the audience.
It's
I will
so
lose my
interesting.
character.
Yeah.
And you can do it so easily because you just need to play one line wrong, quote unquote, to kind of go off track.
And you could feel it then in the audience, right? That they...
You can feel it, right? And Marjan has that responsibility, and Tala, and Ava, all of us, and Puya. You have to... Sanaz gave us so much underneath, and such gems that we say that you have to take care of all of that.
Wait, there's a question about this. Have you felt anything like this in other plays?
No.
So interesting, right?
It's truly, I think Sanaz's writing is vast.
Yeah.
off the between the line. It's vast.
So doesn't this create a lot of tension and worry
About what?
about going off accidentally?
This is why we're so alive every night, because you have to
be locked in.
thread the
Yeah.
right needles.
Yeah.
You can't just take it for granted.
Yeah.
I've done plays where very good plays. I'm not saying that's why it's a better play or not. It's just
Yeah.
different, right? I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
I do love
because you
what
could
we
bring
have,
bring what was happening to you that day into some other play, and it works.
or you
and
could some other plays. Like I did a play at the Public, and I was the lead in it. It was a 3.5-hour play. I played the character at 3 different ages, and that's a play. The process was very different in that play. I was with it for 10 years. I was part of its development, and so I could get on stage and just let it take me. I did not have to thread it.
Interesting.
Right? This is different
Interesting.
because the space, because it's just written differently.
Yeah.
It's a different iceberg.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a different iceberg.
Do you think that all the other actors are fully aware of this like you are?
100%.
So crazy.
We talk about it all the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and also the Knut has created a world where we feel the responsibility to take care of it all the time.
Wow, yeah. Is this the writer? Are her other plays like this? Or is it just this particular play because this is about language a lot, because it's about what it's about, that it has something like that?
I think Sanaz is truly a very particularly, genius writer. I think English itself is particularly more delicate than but she is a very delicate writer. She's now I know her more and more. She really strives for excellence, and she's not interested in. She truly, she rewrote for the Broadway production, even though the play had been published and won a Pulitzer. But she's really interested in kind of the specificity and delicacy of what she's doing. And so I think she is, the more Sanaz will write, the more, I think this applies to her work. I haven't had the chance to do other plays of hers, so I'm speaking theoretically right now, not from experience, but I suspect that English particularly is more of that than other plays, just because of the way it functions in the room. Just because of, you have all these lives that we have that you get glimpses of, but when we're in this English environment, and that takes a lot of care.
Yes, and could you imagine if it wasn't like, knowing that that this is a delicately threaded needle? Can you imagine if this being directed by somebody that didn't understand that thread? I mean, how much of a disaster it could be.
You will tank it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's such a risk all the time, right? Where you are understanding a play more than the director is, and you have to, as you said, trust.
I don't know if I'm understanding the play more than director. I think it's quite the opposite. For me, Knut understood this play way more than I did, and then I had to fill in, and now, But here's what I'll say about English. It's been produced everywhere in the US, and it always works. It works because also on a most basic level, it's a compelling story, and also it's very funny. And I know I was, talking to the Daily Beast a few weeks ago, and I remember saying, this play has different points of entry and different points of exit. You can access it differently, depending on your own experience, whether you're an immigrant, whether you are just a born American, whether you've struggled with languages, or you've left home. Your entry point is, or you're a grandma who misses her grandchildren. And points of exit, what you take from it. Also, so it always works because it has this accessible human side to it. We keep thinking this is just a great American play, right? Yeah. So even if you don't treat it with the delicacy that we are treating it with, it works, right? Now, it works differently if you are, if you are being very delicate with it, it will sing.
Yeah.
It really sings.
That's the interesting part. I feel like I'm lucky because I came upon the work of Abbas Kiarostami in the 90s and changed my life. And the confession is that I would definitely have, just because of where I was born and my upbringing, I would be controlled by prejudices if it wasn't for that. So that when something like 9/11 happens or something like that, I'm feeling empathy for the Islamophobia because of that, only because of that. Because that was a works of art that allowed me to connect to the humanity of people, right? This is what art is about. This is what should be happening. But it's also, it's tremendously embarrassing to say this because I could have easily been somebody that passed over, and it would have to take something like this to be sitting in there from at the age of 50 for me to be counteracting some of that. Do you know what I mean? Unless we're really aware of this stuff. And I could tell that that's happening whether people are willing to admit it or not, maybe every day on Broadway. Isn't it true?
Every day. This is why we are so proud, right? Like,
yeah,
we are doing a play. You know, people come to, you know, we know general audiences are, I mean, the misconceptions, preconceptions, whatever you want to call them about people from the Middle East are pervasive. And we, you know, you have a poster with 4 women in a hijab. It takes place in Iran. I mean, I already, by just saying those words, I know what a lot of people are coming in with, right?
Yeah.
But you walk into this theater, this beautiful theater. First of all, you're watching a gorgeous production. It's beautiful,
Yes.
right? It has nothing to do with political junk.
Yeah.
It is, there's no trauma in it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You have characters who are speaking with an American accent when they're actually speaking Farsi,
Right.
which is truly the genius of Sanaz.
Yeah.
She implicates the audience in feeling an affinity to these Iranians by speaking literally the way they speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we act American and speak American when we're the most Iranian.
Yeah, exactly.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And they get to watch these people who want to go to medical school and fall in love and who are funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they kind of sometimes in Q&As, they feel embarrassed that this is the first time they felt an affinity or understood what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's always a tricky thing for us as Middle Eastern artists, or, you know, people, any artist who has to get, you know, fight against, you know, prejudice, is you don't want to do work just to basically to react against white hegemony, right? You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But you also want to do work that is very true to you, that also does something in the room, right?
Yeah.
So, and this play, I think, just does that. It's just a truthful play from the heart of a writer that happens to break all the preconceptions, but wasn't written to pander or to react.
Right.
It's just is.
Yeah.
And that's what we feel. And for us to have our Broadway debuts in that play
Right.
on Broadway today means a lot.
Yes.
Like, I keep thinking, Peter, as a Lebanese actor who wanted to change my name at a certain point because all I did was, you know, audition for Muhammad number 3, is I keep thinking my Broadway debut could have been, you know, I don't know, the guy who fixes the telephone in like some play in Act 2, and then, you know, instead I'm with incredible artists working on an incredibly delicate, beautiful play.
Yes.
About what it means to speak English.
Yes. And this stayed intact, right? The creative team.
Intact.
Which is unheard of.
Unheard of.
So what is to account for that? Besides everybody being amazing. They're
You know what it is?
People being
when
smart
we
enough
had
not
our
to freak
first
it up.
preview at the Atlantic and realized what we have, and then the success that this play had at the Atlantic with us doing this kind of work, and then it winning the Pulitzer eventually, and then you know just getting Obies and Lortels, and we understood and we believed in this gift that we got And so when it moved to Broadway, there is no way you can have that. I had an almost, like I had a mystical experience during this play at the Atlantic. And I don't want to speak for the others, but I think we can all agree that we did. The day we closed was one of the saddest day of our lives. So no one is going to say no to doing it again. No one.
Yeah.
No one. And I think Knud was able to keep the room together in a masterful way. And then we ended up, we were rehearsing in the same room 3 years later.
Wow.
On 45th.
Wow.
Same stage managers.
Wow.
Assistant stage managers. Everyone was the same.
Wow. That's amazing. And let's just say this. I don't get out much, okay?
So what do you mean?
So you can't take this, I guess, but I have not seen a play succeed with an audience more than this, I don't think. Like, I'm talking, like I said, people sniffling in the audience like men. But it wasn't just that. It felt like a success, like in the true sense of the word. It's not like people are just coming because it's a buzz. It's a buzz. Like maybe that's why they're getting there. But I'm talking about
when they leave.
Can feel it landing. And I needed. Is this a spoiler? When they actually speak Farsi, I needed that. Is it? I wouldn't want that to be ruined for me. So I don't think I want to put that in. But I'm just telling you.
I mean, it is a published play, but
that was my favorite part. I mean, like that's when it comes together. Like for me, it really, just as an artist, I guess, or as somebody who, I feel like I needed it because at a certain point, I felt like I needed to hear that. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And that's when people were starting to cry, and I was like, I don't know what they're saying, but I don't care. Like I don't care. I could still feel it and kind of understand it.
They come home. And I think
that's
no
why
one doesn't understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that moment in the play, which we don't want to spoil, is a moment that makes the audience feel what these characters are feeling all the time. Trying to understand.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Trying to speak.
That's right.
Trying to understand something that you know.
Yes.
It's that, what you just described, the being in a theater, the rarity of being in a theater, feeling an audience connect this way, is what makes us so proud. Look, awards and Tonys and buzzes and press is great, but what makes me feel complete in this experience is that every day I leave the theater knowing that, one, I am working towards excellence with other excellent artists, and two, is that what happened in the audience today was a success. Mm-hmm. We reached people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, look, why do we do what we do? We do what we do because we don't want to feel lonely.
Yeah.
Right? If we didn't have plays, we didn't have films, we would not know that you might have the same experience I have.
That's right.
That's kind of really what it is.
Yeah.
And so when you do that with 700 people, you feel the furthest thing from lonely.
Yeah.
And the sad part, which is I think acting is super sad, especially in the theater, is the play ends and then you're alone on the subway.
Yes. I don't mean to laugh.
No, it's truly sad.
It's truly sad.
And you get home and it's like you just were living.
Yeah.
You just are offering 700 people
yes,
a shared experience. And now you are having a sandwich by yourself in the kitchen. Very late at night.
And you're not a hero in your house.
You're not, well,
you know what I mean?
I'd like to think I'm a hero in my house.
You're eating a hero.
I'm eating a hero. I mean,
But this brings up the question. You can't get this kind of experience on a TV set, can you? I mean, I'm not saying not to hire you because you're a theater actor, because you've had success on TV. But what I'm saying is, when you have this level of experience on the stage, and it happens to be a Broadway stage, with these actors you've been with for a while, you know what I mean? I'm not disparaging this, but I'm just saying, it's not like you're supporting some film actor in this
one-off
one-off thing. You know what I mean? It's
100%.
a true. I'm setting the stage for this question. That this is the height of experience with artists you love. Does it make you just want to stay in this kind of work and try and match this again, or do you get something similar but different in front of a camera?
So I've not been yet on a TV show that had a parallel success to what English has had in the theater. So it's hard for me to imagine what that would have given me having not experienced it. But on the most fundamental level, you know, the camera stuff. So when you're in front of an audience in the theater, there's that renewed commitment to connect to them every night. But if you think about it, every take as a theater actor, I am not someone who landed in Los Angeles, just wants to be famous. As an artist, every take is a renewed commitment to connect with an imaginary audience that will see it one day, right? So it carries the same kernel of connection. It just is not happening now. And you don't have control over it because you get edited.
Yeah.
Right? So the liveness of it, the live aspect of it is irreplaceable. But I mean, if I imagine I could be on a TV show and have been on a few sets where what we're doing together is exciting and is striving for excellence, because what will be put together eventually is going to probably feel in absentia the way I feel with English.
And so when you have something powerful like this that you're able to do, does it make you want to avoid things that aren't going to be powerful in some way?
You're laughing because I'm shaking my head. Yes. I mean, again, here we go back to the same, the commerce versus art, right? Tension. Yes, the dream is to be able to shape your career around things that look like English. But that's also not the way life works. But I do know right now that there's no way back, right? I'm not going to play Osama bin Laden ever. You know what I mean? Or I've made that decision a long time ago. I don't play terrorists. I don't play, I'm a Lebanese male who came to the States right after 9/11. And so I've been through that.
Yeah.
But also by no way back, I mean, the red line has evolved for me.
Yeah.
And the understanding of what I do want to do has become clearer. It's hard to go back. I mean, we talk about that in the cast. How do you go back from this? We're all Middle Eastern actors. And also, it's not just about being Middle Eastern. It's also there's a certain quality of work. I mean, as an artist yourself, there's a quality of work you always want to strive for. And it doesn't always come your way.
Right.
You want to do work that builds and maybe will bring other work, but so it's again that negotiation. But deep down, you are changed.
What is your pre-show ritual? What are you doing later today? This is for a Friday show. And has this changed?
Yes.
How does this evolve?
Yes, this is a good question. It's a very pertinent question because yesterday I had an interesting day. I discovered yesterday more than ever that what I need to do and have been doing is extremely important, which is, for this show, I need to cut away from life at least an hour before the show. I need to get into this space. I need to be on stage before I am on stage. I need to center and truly clear my mind from any distractions of life. for this show because of its delicacy. So the ritual usually for me involves coming always early. I'm never just at half hour, There's a vocal warm-up that just puts me in the space, physically in the space.
Other people are doing it?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Then we also have a ritual that is collective, which in the show we play a ball game where we have to say words in English and guess them. And that ball game is very tricky. You can't make mistakes with it on stage because it derails the whole thing. So we practice that. It's like our kind of fight call. We practice that game every day before the show. And even though we know it well by now, it's become a ritual to kind of, lock into that. And then one of the things that, again, is magical about being in this play is the love we have for each other as a cast and the respect we have. There is a ritual that we do in terms of, there's a breathing togetherness that we do before we get on stage every night. It's kind of like renewing your vows and renewing your commitment to the story we are telling and remembering that what we're doing is lives in the truth that happens between us, and then the audience happens to witness it. It's not. We are not doing this in order to elicit something from an audience. We're doing this because we are going to live together in that story for an hour and a half, and that is very important because, again, this is a delicate play. You have to be with the other person on stage. You have to.
Yeah.
So the process is physical, mental, and collective, right?
Yeah.
For other plays, I would sit in my dressing room until just places. This is not one of those.
Is this going to change going forward, though, things for you in that way? Do you know what I mean? Is it just this play that's like that? Or do you think like that now you need to have this kind of thing for every play?
For every play, there's a ritual, right? I don't know if it's going to be this one.
Yeah.
I think what we do is ritualistic, especially in the theater, because we all go to the same place.
Yeah.
And you have to have some sort of ritual, I think. I have to have some sort of ritual. And it could be very simple. It could be a cup of coffee in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
It could be, it could be a hug with the cast. It could be a 5-minute meditation. It could be, I don't know. This other play I did, there was a book that I would read just before getting on stage. It's just, it's one of those things that, connected me to what the play was about. It's, it differs. I think what's important is always to honor what you're doing. Not to just take, this is what I don't want to ever be, which is, rush from a coffee, take the subway, come in at, half hour, change, and then kind of do the thing because now I'm, I have drinks with some friends after. Like, it's not, for me, this work will never be just like a thing on my calendar.
And that's why it would be worth it to always see you. I thought there was a continuation to that. Thank you. That's sweet of you. I mean that. That's what I want. What about what you put in your body? Is it important what you actually eat? I know this is a weird question.
It's not a weird question at all. I was just talking to another actor about it yesterday. One of the things I hate about the theater is I love food and I live for food and I'm a good cook to a certain extent. And I have rituals when I'm not in a play where at 6 p.m., like my child is around, but I put some lights on, put some music, I'll cook, pour a drink. The theater makes me eat at weird times. Because, the show's at 7, you want to eat at 3, and then you eat at 11 because you're going to get hungry, but you don't want to eat a lot at 3, right? But then you also don't want to eat the things I love because I want to eat things that are bland and simple that will not mess up with my stomach. You see what I mean? So I can't just go have I don't know, a Turkish feast at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. and then get on stage. It's very important. Hydration, the 6 coffees I have a day, they are really critical because if you're hungry on stage, it's disastrous. And if I am very full, it's so bad. So you kind of have to, really take care of what you eat. And it's not fun for me. That's not a fun part. That is a sacrifice. I'm willing to do, but that's a sacrifice.
Is it this strange double-sided thing where this is the dream of dreams, to be in a play every day, but you actually can't live? As we were talking about in the elevator.
That's what I mean. Like this is what happens when you do this, right?
Yeah.
Everything else becomes so hard, especially if the play is so immersive. Like I was telling you earlier in the elevator, sending an email feels like such a chore while doing the show because it kind of everything becomes that like black hole that sucks everything, right? And that's where the pleasure is that kind of sacrifice and dedication to this thing that you truly adore. So but the other things become hard, but it's worth it because that black hole is so you want to be in it, you know? You want to be in it. You do. And then, part of it also is the social stuff. Like, it's not lost on me the fun of being in Midtown and seeing friends after at iconic bars where actors who preceded us hang out at. Like there's also a ritual to that, right? To sharing a drink with a friend who saw the show and is going to share their experience with you, or even go out with the cast and celebrate what we've done. I mean, these things are very important. They are part of that black hole. Right? They're also, we're in New York. That is the dream.
That's right. Are people, like I saw James Franco there that night, are people like that coming backstage that you don't know and appreciating this?
Yes, we had Cynthia Nixon come and talk to us. We know James Franco was there. We know Anna Wintour was there. There are high profile people who are seeing the show, and some of them we know what their, feedback is.
I guess I don't know why I don't care about that with other plays. You know what I mean? I guess I'm like, these are people that we don't usually fucking see on the stage. That's why I want people like that to come and pay homage. You know what I mean?
Totally understand why you asked this question, and it's true. These are not characters we see on stage. So when you see high profile, that means that this is a great American play. And that's what people discover after they see it. They come in with whatever baggage they might have about 5 Iranian students, and they come out having watched an American play. Right?
That's beautiful.
And, an American, there's a shift in the paradigm of what a great American play is, and we are responsible for that. We need to make that shift. The reference point cannot be anymore the kitchen sink play from the 50s. It can't. Right? That doesn't mean it's not a good play, but the world has changed. The questions around what it is to be American have changed. And so what I also feel being part of this is that we are changing the paradigm. Right? This play has been produced everywhere in the US, and it's always a success.
It's amazing.
And guess what? There's Farsi in it. It is an Iranian, setup, and it's but it's an American play.
And I'll tell you this as a sign of hope, or if you would believe me, and I really think you should. I think even with this insane stuff going on in Washington D.C. at the moment, this stuff that I can't even bear to wrap my arms around, it's going to help this. It's already helping this. It's already making I've seen it online. It's making people want to be more conscious than they even were before. And I think that that's like one of the great things that came from the idiotic, what they call the Muslim ban, is this play. She wrote it because
she said, Sanaz says she wrote it as a scream,
and a scream and a rage against that. Came from this. We have this because of that, and we have so many other countless things because of it. This is against our nature. Like, I really feel like there is a progression that we are having separate from this insanity. And I'm not saying, this person won. I get it. There is something to be worried about here, but there is this vibrant progression of progress that is
I have a
happening
different way
on
of
this
saying
thing.
this. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think art is becoming and will become weirder and deeper and more interesting because of the times we live in. I feel like this is kind of like in between the world war situation where like artists are really reacting deconstructively in new ways. The paradigm will shift. The entertainment industry feels like it's going backwards 40 years. I hope that we realize that we need to support the artistic trend with commerce.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't end up being the downtown experimental play that no one sees. Right? That's where, and that's why I'm so happy this is happening on Broadway.
Yes.
Because tens and thousands of people are seeing it every night.
Yes.
And it's proving that you can do art that is accessible.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I kind of agree with what you're saying, that progress is happening because the reaction is against something so strong.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
But it's also the responsibility of the people who make these things happen. I'm talking about organizers, I'm talking about artistic directors, I'm talking about financiers, investors, to put their efforts in these plays and these films and these TV shows. And not to run towards safety and comfort.
Exactly.
Which is not coincidentally very nostalgic of a time gone by that is trying to be brought back in its worst ways.
Yes. And I hope that they some of these people get to see this play and just look at the audience and realize like, well, this is art being eaten up in the ways that we think that only certain kinds of non-art gets eaten
100%.
up by the audience.
100%.
Because that will change things too, where it's like, wait,
this can
good
work.
things can actually be eaten by people like this and swallowed.
100%. 100%.
And it's not, and they're going to have a smile on their face when it goes down their throat? What?
And they might cry while they're laughing and leave the theater and go, oh my God, that's the best play I saw, even though they're like from Massachusetts and like this play takes place in Karaj in the suburbs of Tehran.
Exactly. Is there a role, particularly on the stage, that you always wanted to do, that you can do, that you wish you can do, that you want to put into the universe right now? Do it.
You're going to laugh at me. I dislike musicals for the most part, right? I don't. This is a genre that doesn't sit well with me, right? But I would love to play Bobby and Company.
Yes.
And I'm not like a professional singer, but I
you
can
could sing.
And I don't know why I have this thing. I want to do one musical in my life, and that's that musical, because there's something so humanly deep about that musical, about someone who is looking for a deep connection that he is afraid of. And so that makes me vibrate a bit.
Wow.
But I also want to make new roles.
Yeah.
And this is what's been happening. You know, like we originated these parts in this play. I originated a part in Vegan Trilogy. I've been playing Middle Easterners that are exciting and they're beautiful characters. And I want to keep doing that. I want to keep making new work that I write for myself or that is written by others. It doesn't have to be Middle Eastern, but I'm looking less at the past.
Yeah. Good.
You know?
Yes.
And if I'm going to look at the past, I'm going to look at Company.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm not, like I don't wake up thinking, oh, I wish I could play, what was his name, Biff in Death of a Salesman? Like that's not where I am right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right now I'm like, what is Sanaz writing?
Yes.
What are the people I know who, what are interesting filmmakers making, right?
Yes.
That we can just create something new.
Yes.
You know, that's the exciting stuff.
But what about a film version of Company? Like,
I would love that, because then you can edit the singing. I don't have to hit that high, what is it, high A, high G sharp and Being Alive. I forget what it was.
No, but that makes me excited that I want people to be giving us new things that are the new classics, that are going to be the new classics.
Yes.
English is that. Now, like, let's keep that going.
100%.
Like, you know what I mean? And if we can't, if Broadway isn't conducive to that, although it's surprising me, it keeps surprising me, you know? Like, I'm like English, like, that's amazing. That it has a beautiful set. Like, it's like
gorgeous.
I mean, like, and the audience is packed in for a play.
That takes place in Iran.
It takes place in Iran. So I want that's what I want people to be focused on. I want good actors to be focused on that, and not be just rehashing the old stuff that we already have. Why can't we have that? You know what I mean? I want that, and so it makes me happy that you're focused.
I do want to play Treplev in The Seagull. It's always been a dream. I'm starting to get old for it. But you know,
that's been done at your age. Come on.
It has been.
Come on.
It's funny, you know, I did Leontes at the Folger in DC. It was a really good production, and every time I told someone I'm playing Leontes, they're like, isn't he much older? And it's funny, like, we have this thing with age in Shakespeare, right? Yeah. Like, Leontes is always played by this, like, 60-year-old man. Leontes is, in the play, it says how old he is. He is 39.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny?
No, he's 31, and then in 16 years later he is 46. Sorry, wow. 31 and 46.
Yeah,
that's how young he is.
Yeah.
Because he says 23 years ago about his child who's 8.
That's so
23 plus 8 is 31. It's so funny, but like, you know, it's one of those things where. So I think with Chekhov we can, you know.
Oh yes.
We can fuck around a bit.
Absolutely.
There's something about that character that just draw, you know, that the artist struggling with excellence while someone else not only has more success but has taken the love of his life is very riveting to me. It's also a very difficult play.
And isn't it true that when things are that clear with a character, I'm not saying it's easy, but shouldn't writers be trying to hit that bullseye of clarity?
Yeah.
And the dual, like, you can have clarity, but it be complex. He loves his mother. He's jealous of her. You know, at the same time, you could play that, though. It's not too complex that you can't play.
Complex is not complicated.
That's it.
Right?
That's a better way of saying it.
And writers and actors, sometimes they think that, I mean, we've been guilty of that. We think that if we complicate something, that means it's interesting. In fact, the deepest things are the simplest things. Yes. Because once you tap into the simplicity of what the thing is, the clarity of it, as you're saying, then all the complexities come into play.
Yes.
You just have to trust playing all the colors.
Yes.
I remember when I was working with Mark Wing-Davey on the trilogy. Mark Wing-Davey is a wonderful director who I've worked with for 10 years. He ran NYU for a very long time and still teaches there. And he's like an institution, right? I felt like I had an NYU grad school education for free by just working with him for a decade. I remember I once, doing the third play in that trilogy, I was so mad. We were doing a DC production of it. I got home, I was so mad because there was something I wasn't understanding. I was like, how does he behave like this? Does that mean he likes his son more than his daughter? I wrote him an email. He didn't respond. And so the next day I came, I was like, Mark, you did not respond to me. And he goes, Donovan, don't try to, and I'm paraphrasing, streamline your character. Don't try to connect the dots. It becomes boring. Let them be contradictory.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But what I learned then is, one, let them be contradictory. And two is, when you do things truthfully at different times, you get a human spectrum.
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
You get a human spin. That's what you want. But if they're clear, it won't be confusing.
That's right.
It will be human.
Let us connect the dots for the rest of our
Correct.
life. Like, you know what I mean? Spend the rest of our life trying to figure.
Don't try to manicure an arc.
Yeah.
Let the person be messy, but clearly messy.
Yes.
In that messiness, it will become clear to us how human they are.
Yes. Yes.
Right? That's where complex comes. Complicated is when you can't latch onto what this person is doing.
Right.
But Treplieff is very clear.
Yeah.
He loves his mom. She's overbearing.
Yeah.
He loves this girl. This other guy has her.
Yeah.
He feels insecure about his art, and he's struggling. So you can be a dick sometimes. You can be sweet. You can be reactive. You can be pensive. You can do a lot of things that become complex.
Yes.
But they live in the simplicity of who you are.
Hadi Tabbal, thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.